Welcome to the Once Upon an Island podcast. I'm your host, Wesley, and of course, I'm joined by my co-host,
Mary.
And today we're talking about the Survivor 42 premiere episode, aka episode 1, aka someone gets medevaced and someone gets voted out. But first, and most importantly, I believe, is Erica last season. She won, and she had her Lamb to Lion story. So obviously Omar, who has never seen season 41, channeled the winner energy and has said his own story of pigeon to owl, which is not quite as drastic, but it's a story.
It's a story.
I mean, shouldn't we all have a story, Mary?
Yeah, I mean, I have my own story.
You have a story? Okay, well, what's yours?
Mine would definitely be from duck to swan.
Duck to swan?
Yeah.
All right, so you start the game as a duck?
Yeah, like just awkward and kind of out of water.
Kneading bread.
Yeah, kneading bread. And then eventually, just gracefully gliding along the waters while underneath there's turmoil, but I'm calmly, I don't know. That was just the first thing that came to mind.
Okay. You want to hear mine?
Yeah, what's yours?
So yours is more like Erica's. Yours is like good. It's like duck to swan. Like this makes sense.
Sure.
Mine is, okay. I'm starting this podcast. Yes, I did write this down. I'm starting this podcast as bird poop, but no one will see me coming.
What?
By the end of this podcast, I will finish as Fat Thor from Avengers Endgame. That's my transformation story.
Okay, so number one,
it's
everyone...
more like Omar's, like it doesn't really make sense.
No, Omar's made way more sense than yours.
From bird poop to Fat Thor?
Everyone notices bird poop. When you see bird poop, it's like, ooh, gross, get out of the way.
What, you saying people don't notice Fat Thor?
People also notice Fat Thor. It's also kind of like, ooh, gross. What happened?
But it's a different kind of... See, that's what I mean. Like, it's a different kind of ooh, gross. They're both ooh, gross, just in their own unique, fun ways.
You're very unique.
Haven't you ever gone to your car and be like, bird poop? Wow, this is unique and fun.
No,
and
never.
Gross.
Never.
Well, welcome, everyone. If you listen to our Amazing Race podcast, you might be aware of this, but if you haven't listened since Survivor 41, welcome. We did talk about... Yeah, we talked about the Amazing Race in the off season. Couple things we want to mention. Of course, number one is there are chapter markers in this podcast. So if there's only a certain section you want to listen to or you want to skip around, you definitely can do that. We will, of course, do our winner picks where I inaccurately say who the winner is every week until like the last two episodes when everybody has already pretty much figured it out. But for now, I want to mention that I started a new YouTube channel about a month ago called Film Heart, all about movies. If you like my videos and you like movies, there you go, Film Heart. I'll put it in the description. I've already released 6 videos about 3 different movies, and I got a new one coming out this next Wednesday, so a week from now ish. We're recording this right after the premiere, so for me it's a week from now. But yeah, that's what I have new on my front. Do you have anything new on your front, Mary?
Well, actually, thank you for asking, Wesley. Yes, I wrote a book, and it's going to be published next month, so I'm really excited about that. Yeah. I wrote a middle grade fantasy novel, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and it was really enjoyable, and I'm excited about it. As
one of the few chosen to be able to read it before it gets published, I've enjoyed it, though I did just barely escape middle grade last year. So
yeah, that was a rough couple.
But no, like for reals, it's I was actually pleasantly surprised. You hear someone...
Wow.
Well, you hear someone writing a book for the first time, you're like, oh no, this is going to be... like you hear someone doing something for the first time, you're like, this is going to be rough. And I went into it and I was like, wow. No, I'm just saying this, and it's not just because you're my wife. I mean, you are my wife and I love you. But it's a very easy read right out the gate. It wasn't like it didn't feel like, I don't know. I'm just trying to like compliment you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I'm also trying to say that even if I wasn't your husband, I would still think the same things about the book.
Well, thank you.
The only difference is I want to kiss you.
Wow.
I don't want to kiss every author I read, but that
good.
Could change.
No.
Also, before we move on to the breakdown, just point out Mary, I'll put her links in the description, but follow her author page on Instagram and on Facebook. I know Facebook's for old people, but yeah, check out both of her socials for her author page on there, as she'll post more news about her book as it gets closer. Okay, let's move on.
Anyways.
All right, so let's get into Survivor 42 premiere episode. So I wrote this down thinking I was going to be funny, thinking it was never going to be brought up. Are you ready for what I wrote down?
Yeah.
This was before the episode. I said, is the monster actually just the friends we made along the way? Thinking there was no way Jeff was going to even say the word monster to these players, and he did.
Yeah, he definitely brought it up. I mean, didn't he say something similar at the very beginning of Survivor 40?
No, it was all in the preseason press. It's kind of like they thought of it before 42, in between 41 and 42, and then they're just like, let's go with that
Just
for 41 because we had
roll with
nothing
it.
else
Gotcha.
so it's like it was all in the ads and stuff for 41, but it was never said on the show. No, he said a monster in a horror movie, and I wrote in all caps, "It happened!" exclamation point.
Yeah, I don't know. It still just doesn't seem like it fits, but
No,
whatever.
But at least he said it to the players.
I guess so.
And now it's like, if you go back and you watch this season later, right? Like, you're just discovering Survivor for the first time post 42. You're a brand new fan in the future. And you watch these seasons and he actually says it and people mention the monster thing, you'll have a reference. Otherwise, people are talking about stuff that was just in ads. And I haven't watched ads for all seasons I've seen because why would you? Why would you watch ads for something you already watch? You can watch readily. So anyways, all right. Yeah. So we don't start on a boat.
But haven't they started with the 3 separate boats before?
Well, yeah. I'm sorry.
Or 2
so when I say the
boats?
boat, I'm thinking of that big ship they were on in 41 where they're like, welcome to Survivor 41. They're all on the ship and they go, yeah. And then they find the paddles and they jump off. And
kind of felt like old school Survivor a little bit.
Last season?
Yeah. Well, yeah,
With
because I
boat?
feel like older seasons have done that a lot.
Pretty much, yeah. I would say every season. I'm sorry. I'm going to get ripped to shreds if I start saying every season. Most seasons start on a ship and they jump off, though they did move away from that in I would say the middle seasons.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. But then as of recent, it's kind of like, yeah, the ship thing's pretty standard. So starting on the beach, not new, just different. So a tweak, as Jeff might say, because he said we're bringing back all the twists from last season with tweaks.
Right.
And if you heard our preview podcast, we talked about how we hope they would change them. One of them was, which is going to come up later, is the shot in the dark.
Right.
What did you think about them not changing this at all?
I mean, I didn't care. I felt like at least somebody used it. So that was good.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad Zach used it knowing he was going to be voted out. Unlike Jeannie last season, who knew she was going to be voted out by Ricard and Shannon, did not use it.
Right.
Like, what a mistake.
Ultimately, it's all about numbers, and I'm not great with numbers. So if I felt like I was in danger, I would use it.
Yeah.
That's basically what it boils down to. And obviously, Zach knew he was in danger, so.
So we get this very first challenge. All 3 tribes show up. We got a few people get confessionals. We can talk about the confessionals first, and then we'll get in the challenge, I guess. So I wrote down that Jonathan gets the first confessional. He really just says there's a bunch of world records, but only one survivor.
Right.
Dude's massive. But he's not like he's massive and he's clearly got a lot of muscle, but and maybe this is me not being a ripped guy. I'm more like, I almost said more like Zach. That's not really accurate. Where he said he was a ripped guy. I'm like, I have the same mindset as Zach.
Sure.
I'm ripped. I'm not really ripped. But my point is that it looks like he has maybe a little bit more fat, which is good because we've had people in the past who are like big and muscular, but then like a week in, they're dying because they have nothing to lose. They need more calories to maintain their physique. Right. So maybe Jonathan actually has a little chunk to lose. Could be wrong. I haven't seen him with the shirt off, if I recall correctly.
Right. I don't think so.
He's had his shirt on the whole time, as far as I'm aware. I'm waiting for the reveal of the abs and everyone to swoon, including me. So he gets first confessional. Do you remember who gets the second confessional?
Wasn't it Drea?
Yes, I believe it was Drea. Talking about how she's a hurdler. Was she an Olympic hurdler? I missed how good she was.
No, but she was like half blind, she said.
Oh.
Which is interesting because
or is?
She said was?
Yeah.
So maybe she had like eye surgery or something, but at the time she didn't, and she was running hurdles half blind. So maybe we'll find out more of her story later.
Yeah. All right. And then the next person is Omar, who we joked about earlier.
The pigeon.
So my question here, from pigeon to owl, not as inspiring as lamb to lion.
No.
Not that Erica necessarily inspired me. I'm just saying that hers made more sense for me as a casual person with an understanding of animals that the normal human being does, without going online looking up, is owl really a massive upgrade from a pigeon? I can understand lamb to lion,
right?
But pigeon to owl, like, I thought he was going to say pigeon to rhino, and I know it sounds redonkulous because he starts his confessional with, the crippled bird with the leg. And sometimes at the vet, we have to like pet rhinos or put our hands up rhinos' butts or whatever he says about rhinos. And I'm like, okay, here it comes. Pigeon to rhino. And I'm like, because it's the same idea, like being a rhino at the end. Like, holy cow, you're bowling over owl.
Yeah, I thought you would have
owl.
at least gone for hawk or falcon or something. But
American eagle, maybe. Pick something cool. Yeah. Just an owl. Like, I mean, owls are cool.
I'm sure they're very ferocious hunters.
What's that movie you like that Zack Snyder directed about owls?
Guardians of Gahul.
There you go. They have a movie. They're a thing.
They're very fearless and dangerous in the film.
All right. Well, maybe I'm speaking out of turn about owls.
Maybe we're showing our ignorance.
I'm gonna sleep tonight, and owls are gonna attack me and be like, "Have you learned your lesson now, boy?" All right. So yeah, that's the confessionals road. I don't know. Lydia also has a very much a confessional where she's kind of a goof. Basically, they present her as where she's like, "Oh, I'm worried about burning right now and sand. I hate sand."
Oh yeah.
They kind of give her like a Christian-like confessional from Dave vs. Goliath, but I don't think she's as funny. But she is quirky and she's a little funny, so I'm not like knocking her. I'm just saying that she got the same kind of edit,
right?
So it's kind of like presented as just a character who's funny. No both this season. Note I made. I don't remember exactly when I made this. At what point I mean. But Marianne loves to smile, and I put that's a great social trait because, I don't know, people who smile, you just want to be around naturally.
Yeah, that was as soon as they got off their boats and got up onto the sand. She was like, nobody had even said a word, and she just had the biggest grin on her face.
I wrote it.
And it was and that's the first person Jeff talks to, or that we show. Jeff talking to, and he's just like, okay, you right there with a huge smile. Yeah, you're really excited.
That's probably why I wrote it down.
Yeah.
Then. So. That's that, but she does seem like an over talker. Maybe she was just nervously talking though, because I'm sure it's the first time they all get to talk to each other finally after 2 weeks of quarantine. And according to Tiffany from 41, this is my 41 secrets video along with many other secrets. That in 41 they quarantined for 2 weeks, and then they were like sitting at like the pregame camp for like 8 days, so like 3 weeks. So I hope 42 here wasn't sitting for 3 weeks around.
Who knows?
But if you could imagine not talking to really anyone for almost 3 weeks, or 3 weeks, I'd be like, oh my gosh.
Well, and I feel like Marianne's personality is just very extroverted in that she loves to talk and anything she's thinking she's saying, it seems like. So. And
next week on Survivor has her chopping that machete, and she's just like, ah! And it's like, oh my gosh.
She's going to be another character. Depending on how long she lasts.
Like Lydia is kind of quirky. Marianne's like super quirky. Right. Like
I like Marianne.
Marianne's a much stronger.
She's fun to watch.
Funny character than Lydia, in my opinion. Okay, so while Mike talks, by the way, 57. I didn't realize he was that old till he said it.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have guessed it just by looking at him. Jeff does like these awkward poses.
Oh, it was so bad.
And I'm like, is Jeff being funny?
Yeah, he was trying to do like some modeling poses because Mike was saying how awestruck he was. He's on the same beach as Jeff, talking to Jeff. And so Jeff's like doing these modeling poses, I guess. Like, I don't know. It was so bad.
Mary and I just got done watching Cook Islands a week ago. This is not the same Jeff.
No, it's like a different person.
It's not the same person. Even me right now, I'm like working on some secrets videos for other seasons the patrons voted on. And so I'm like hitting Jeff at different points of time. And between seasons 1 and 40, it's the same Jeff. He's changed because he gets like 20 years older over the course of 40 seasons. So of course people change, but like this is like older. This is like a kinder, gentler Mr. Rogers Jeff. I miss a little edge to my Jeff.
Yeah.
I know we said this last season.
Yeah.
But I miss a little. Give me a little edge, Jeff.
Yeah.
Which we'll bring up later because I feel like there should have been some edge later, but everybody's personal opinion. Okay. So the monster in a movie thing happened. I was like ecstatic that it was actually used after all the promos.
Yeah,
Even for this season, they promoted it again. So we have this opening challenge, which essentially boils down to everybody in their own does their own task to get a paddle. So it's kind of like the 41, everyone had to find paddles on the ship, and which was unfair to one tribe because they're just like kind of blended in with the colors of the ship. Here it's just like, okay, so
there's only 2 members.
Let's just get to the important part because who cares about the other paddles? The twist. Can you explain to us what the twist was, Mary?
So the 3 runners
A sigh.
run off around the corner of the beach where no one else can see them. And they have to stop, wait for the other, all 3 of them to get there. They have to read it together. And they have to decide if they want to just take their paddles and run back and continue on with the race, or the challenge, excuse me. Or if they want to get an advantage, and the advantage, basically they have to lie to cover why they were standing around with this advantage. So then they just have to cover themselves with blood and mud and pretend like they were battling, which I was waiting for them to cut to be like, what happened? And one of them to just like give this terrible story of, oh my gosh, the paddles are buried deep in this mud pit and we had to wrestle each other. And they never once cut to their lie.
So
Not once.
So we get Lydia asking Hai if he has blood on him. He's like, yeah, but he just says it casually.
Right.
So I guess I'm not anti them doing first off, I want to start with that. I'm not anti this twist. We've seen this in other seasons.
I'm anti the twist, but go ahead.
That's okay. In other seasons, they've done similar things where they like choose. You can either get a small bag of beans or a large bag of beans. You get a small bag of beans, you get included in a hidden immunity idol, but you both have to agree to it. For people who remember Worlds Apart, they do that there. So like, I'm not anti this idea of like, you either all do it or you all don't do it, but it's like, there's no individual choice. It's like so I'd like that. I also like that they all did obviously choose it. They get the amulets. Then you got the real kicker. We'll get back to the blood and mud, but you get the real kicker to the amulets is the less of them that exist in the game, the more powerful they become. And really, it truly becomes oh crap.
They thought
I sure hope the other 2 get voted out without me having to do it.
Right. They thought they were forming this secret alliance where after the merge, they're going to work together. When in reality, after the merge, they're going to be, an anti-alliance, basically. No, the only reason I was fine with the aspects of the twist, I guess. What I didn't like about it was that it happened right in the middle of a challenge, and you basically, the challenge comes to like this grinding halt.
And Jeff's like, it's taking them a while.
Right. And the pacing was just so off. And usually when they have these kind of decisions, it's like almost like a summit where you get pulled and you have to make the decision.
It basically is a summit mid-challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a summit mid-challenge, and I just felt like it just stop the momentum of the challenge right away. And then you're like, oh wait, we have to go back to the challenge.
What if we replaced the summit in this episode, which was just a retread from 41? What if we replace the summit with
this?
You go to the island and you have to cover yourself in mud and blood and go back to your tribe caked in mud and blood.
Okay,
like not in the middle of a challenge.
Maybe not the mud and blood, but like the same idea.
Did you go to the Hunger Games on that island?
Right, yeah. The other
Did
two
the other
are just
people survive? No, okay, so the mud and blood, I think the mud's fine.
Yeah, the mud was fine.
But the blood's excessive because no one has cuts or wounds, and why would medical not come out if you were covered in blood?
Right.
It's just like, it obviously makes it so suspicious, but if everyone's caught up in the moment, they don't think about it. But like later on, you'd be like, why was Hai covered in blood the other day?
It's just almost like, obviously they're
like
lying.
production setting them up.
Right.
In a way.
Exactly. It's almost like production setting them up.
It's like discouraging you from what they want you to do, which is to do it. So by the way, I want to say this has a flaw to it, but this is not flawed like many things we talked about in 41. Like it has a flaw, but I don't think overall it is bad. I think overall it's fine. It has its ups and downs, and overall I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Whatever. Who cares? The amulets are easy. And by the way, the amulets for me is like way easier for me to keep track of than something like fire tokens.
Yeah.
I can keep up with 3 amulets. And the less of them there are in the game, the more powerful they are. Like, because all 3 of them existing at once, this is never going to happen.
Right.
All 3 of them being used at once means we get an extra vote. Like, okay, we got to create an alliance then at that point. So maybe that can happen. So what happened? Do you remember what happens if there's only 2 of them left? We were recording this, by the way, right after the episode. So I haven't rewatched it. I know if
it's 3, you have extra vote, right?
Yeah. And if there's only 1, it's a full idol.
I don't remember what it was. It's 2.
Yeah. So I don't need 1,000 comments telling me what it will be because I'll look it up. I just want to be clear on that because sometimes I look this stuff up afterwards. I'm just saying we just record this right after for logistical purposes, but I'll look it up. So anyways, point being is it sounds like the point is to get rid of the RT people with the amulets. Really is what I would want to do because you have to get rid of people anyways, and an extra vote is only if you're like in the minority, but you're all in different anyways. All right. So I wrote down too much blood doesn't look real and Hai. I think the better way for these three people to do it is like put them on blood, but like then roll in the sand and get in the ocean. You know what I mean? Like really get all the elements on you. So like it kind of like, oh, you just got really dirty. Like you dive in the ocean for something.
Right.
Versus,
well, they
here's
did
these
roll in the
3
sand.
splatterings of mud on me.
They rolled in the sand, but they didn't.
Yeah.
It did look really fake.
It looks fake. Yeah. And I'm saying you really got to go all out on the getting dirty. Like get like jump in, like get wet in the ocean, roll around the sand, then put the mud and blood on you. And it's kind of like, man, what did they have to do?
Right.
Like would they dive underneath something? You know, like anyways, just it looked so tacked on.
It was so sus.
Yeah. It was very sus. So Daniel dislocates his shoulder. And I wrote this down before he said it. So I want to say I was aware of the reference. Dislocates his shoulder like Stephanie LaGrossa. Though he does say it out loud to his tribe, which is showing you're a super fan in case they didn't already know. But yeah, he dislocates his shoulder like Stephanie. I'm like, oh no, is he going to get pulled for this? Because they pull medical out and we see the cameras.
Right.
And everything. Of course, that's after the challenge is done. They still let him run through the rest of the challenge like and everything with his shoulder dislocated. Because he just like...
What are you going to do?
He falls face forward in the sand. And like, how embarrassing. I would personally feel embarrassed. And I'm not saying he should feel ashamed. I'd feel embarrassed if I fell face forward in the sand and I dislocated my shoulder.
Sand's very difficult to run in. I mean,
I know it's difficult to run in.
It happens, obviously.
Yeah. That would be me though. I would love to think that wouldn't happen to me, but I would be the guy who I would fall forward in sand, dislocate my shoulder and be like, I can't go on. Do the rest of the challenge without me, guys. No,
probably.
I feel but like after being quarantined for like 2 probably more weeks, like, oh man, I like that would suck so hard. First challenge, you haven't even gotten to camp yet. Like, what is this, Palau? Like with Wanda and Jonathan getting kicked off second day, like that sucks.
Yeah.
But here, no, I'm glad they got fixed at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I really thought he was about to be pulled, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, no!" I was like, "That's not even his fault." I mean, like, yeah, he fell, but like, it's not his fault.
No, it's not his fault.
Unlike somebody later on this episode, we'll get to that. Okay, so long story short is whichever tribe wins this challenge gets flint. The other 2 are without it.
Well, they get their flint, the machete, their
and the pot.
bucket.
Is that what it was? It was all 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Ica wins. The blue tribe wins. Roxroy. By the way, I love the name Roxroy.
That's cool.
It is a cool name. I mean, I don't know. If I had a choice between my name Wesley and the name Roxroy, I think I would have picked Roxroy if I had the choice. Even as a child and a teenager, I don't think I ever would have regretted the name Roxroy. And people not short naming it. What's that?
Nicknaming?
Nah, I'm nicknaming the word. I'm nicknaming into short name. Like, what am I doing? Yeah, Roxroy. I don't know. I just love the name. And nobody will forget that either. Like, what a unique name. Anyways, he's the one that basically does the thing and gets them the flint. And I was missing the door element. Usually there's a door to get a key to open the door. It's whatever.
Are you talking about the stick that they had to tie together?
I don't know. I'm just like so focused on
his name, your little ostrich.
Roxroy, yeah. I'm in love with the name. Yeah,
it was really close. I really thought that Maria, is it Maria? No.
Are you saying Mariah?
Mariah. I thought Mariah had it because she had such a big head start, but it was really close at the end. And yeah, he pulled it out. Yep,
they did. So long story short, blue tribe gets flint, machete and whatnot, and the pot, and the orange and green tribe, which I believe is Taku is orange. I got to remember this. Taku is orange. Vati is green. They did not. So they have to go back to camp and they get the dilemma of you either can do so here's the only tweak I saw the whole episode, because everything else was 1 for 1. The tweak was, so last season of 41, it was either 2 people carry buckets, not a barrel, by the way. The barrel's new, I feel like. Was it? They go get a barrel? Okay, well, 2 people can either go take their pans or pots or whatever it was to the ocean. They'd go to a specified spot, bring it back, fill the barrel. Or was it 2 barrels? Either way, the production must have thought, this is too easy. Let's make it only one or this is obviously too obvious of a choice. Let's make it 1 person. And let's make the triangle, if they decide to do that, easier by giving them 2 guesses instead of 1.
Right.
Because clearly nobody chose that last time. And here we get literally the opposite decision from last time because they tweaked it. So I like that we saw them do the other task. And I hope we never see this specific task again, because we've seen both sides of it personally. But I do, and the 51, like I could tell you, I'd be like Jonathan. I'd be like, all right, you guys do this. I'll go work on the camp.
Yeah, I think that was kind of a smart decision to split up their efforts and do that. I'm okay with them having some sort of challenge because they lost the original challenge. Yeah, they could switch it up.
Yeah.
But I do like that one's more mental, one's physical. But I think it was better this time because they both seemed more even because of the two guesses versus the one person. Yeah. But it did kind of make it seem obvious. The second
guess was needed because they were like, oh crap, what if we missed a triangle?
Right.
The answer ended up being 51. They both got it.
Right.
But they were both like, well, what if we're off by one? And I think that could have stopped them from doing this task.
Right.
Had they only had the one guess, which I think is what we saw last season.
That's what it was last season. Yeah.
So with the tweak they got, I think the show got what it wanted, which was them doing something different. Though... I hope we never, as I said, I hope we never, we've done it. We've gotten all variations of this. Let's move on from it forever. Never do this one again. It's really not that interesting. But we did learn in the process that Jenny is great at puzzles and Jonathan is not.
Yes.
That's what the important things were learned here.
Didn't he say like 10 or something?
Jonathan said 11.
11.
And I think Daniel, I'm trying to think who's on Tribe with Jonathan. It was not Daniel.
It's not Daniel.
Okay. Someone else. Sorry, I'm learning everyone's names as we go.
Well, it's first episode.
Yeah. Cut me some slack here. Whoever's on Tribe with Jonathan's like, well, I've counted 36 so far. And Jonathan's like, whoa, if you've counted 20
I think that
more
was Omar.
Was it Omar? Okay, yeah. All right, it makes more sense. Because Daniel's not even on the Orange Tribe. Yeah. Omar's caught 36 so far.
He's like,
I'm not even close.
I'm just going to go make camp.
Yeah. And then they were trying to make camp. He's like, now I see why we need the machete. Because he couldn't get bamboo down or anything. Yeah. Zach is overjoyed. I wrote, I would be the same, but I wrote that before I knew what would happen at the end of the episode. And while Zach was still chipper at the end, even specifying Survivor Wiki, who, by the way, at the end of the episode airing, we live in the Central/East Coast time, so we got to watch it first. We didn't live in West Coast. He specifies Survivor Wiki, and I went and checked Twitter afterwards. See, Survivor Wiki was ecstatic they were name dropped on the show. They've never been name dropped before as far as I can remember, but they haven't even seen it yet. So we're recording this before they see it. I hope they're excited when they hear their name dropped.
I'm sure they will be
on but yeah, they hadn't because they live West Coast, long story short. So anyways, not get too far ahead.
But yes, he was super excited, very much.
Yeah.
The super fan.
Such a shame he got voted out because he was really into this.
Yeah, he was. He was really excited.
I was personally hoping somebody else would get voted out, but we'll get there when we get to that tribal. So we learned that Swati is currently in the National Guard, which I thought was very cool. Because she's currently in. Like, I feel like we've gotten so many veterans. Not very often. I can't say never, but not very often we got somebody who's currently, even though it's just the reserves, so technically she just does 1 week in a month and a couple weeks a year. She works like a month out of the year, if that.
Well, I think it would be really hard to be active military and do Survivor. So
yeah, because as someone who was in, here's the logistics of that. If you were active, you could do it. You get 30 days of vacation a year as an active duty military person. You can say, I know, here's all the math. You can save up to, at the time I was in, you could save up to 90 days. But I don't think anyone in their right mind would ever approve you to take 90 days off. But Survivor's 26 days, right? And then you got 2 weeks of quarantine. So it's 40 days, if my math's correct. And then you have your flying out there, flying back. So let's just say it's 45 just to be safe. So could you have 45 days of leave if you're going on the show Survivor, though you cannot tell your command that's what you're doing, but like you also would have to kind of tell them that's what you're doing.
Right.
I think you could with the right commander, but let me tell you, that's like you got a shot in the dark. You got a 1 in 6 chance is what I would say on getting a person in charge of you who would approve that. Anyone who's former military could tell you 45 days off at once if you're not getting out of the military as terminal leave is hard to get. So it's possible, I think, for active duty to do it. I just the likelihood's low, but I would love to see somebody one day. I think I want to say Candace's husband. Funny, I know Mary because we just watched Cook Islands. Candace's husband in season 27 was active, but I don't know if he was active or if he was active reserve like Swati here.
Gotcha.
So not to get too in the weeds, but also we're getting in the weeds. So
let's hop back on the path.
Yeah. Oh, I put I also liked that her backstory was not a sob story. Everyone, and I want to point out, everyone, even if they had not not tragic is the word, but a sadder backstory. It was like shorter, or the editing was different in terms of music. It was just it didn't feel like it was being shoved down my throat. Like, here's why you should care about me. It was more like, all right, here's my backstory. Okay, cool. Like, that's fine. That's fine.
There were a lot of backstories in this first episode. I didn't know if it was like a record or if it just felt like
Zach never got one?
No.
Wow.
Never
we
got
went into tribal and I'm like, remember, if you get a backstory, you can be voted out. You're eligible. That sucks, man.
Yeah.
I remember in 41, the very first episode, the people who, if I recall, anyways, all right. Sorry not to get too much on 41 because I don't want to say things and I'll be inaccurate because I don't have a list of facts in front of me. Okay, so the next thing was is Tori is lying about her job to get in with people. And I wrote, okay, so she's the Gary Hogaboom of the season. There's always one.
Somebody always lies about their job.
This is like a very mild lie, in my opinion. So we're going from, it's not like an extreme, like, I'm not an NFL player. I'm just a landscaper.
Right.
This is she's lying because she's actually a therapist. And instead she's pretending to be a caregiver, but does anyone
She doesn't want people to think that she's like analyzing them or something, I guess.
But Denise, I know, is a sex therapist, but Denise Stapley won this game and she was a therapist. I mean, it was a sex therapist, but like, it's not, has anyone ever in Survivor been like, you're a therapist?
Maybe
I can't say anyone has ever said that and been like, oh no, I got to get you out.
I feel like Tori's just there to play and she just wants to play.
Way overplaying. And the show is making us know this. Yeah.
She's a little too excited.
I would say Tori is on my hit list for who is definitely not winning the game. I don't have a guaranteed loser, but if I did right now, it'd be Tori.
It would be
Zach. Watch her turn around.
Turn it all around.
Yeah. Actually, one of my guaranteed losers that I have to not win the game is Zach. So.
Well, I'm glad he was on
I'll throw that out there in case you're wondering. We do get a conversation between Zach, Tori, and Swati talking. And by the way, I apologize if I'm saying somebody's names wrong. I'll learn as I go. Just asking for grace on that. All right, because I could be saying her name wrong, so I'm thinking. First time we have heard of Harry Potter and Survivor. We're making real
true.
first here. Butterbeer. We talk about Orlando, though we don't say Orlando because they didn't pay us money.
They said, I guess they said Florida. I thought he said Florida.
Yeah, he says he's been down to the Wizarding World. By the way, for those who don't know, you can see like all the real sets in England. I just found this out recently. Like,
we have jumped way.
I know, but we're talking about Harry Potter. I think it's relevant. He says he's been to the Wizarding World. I'm saying if you want to see not the theme park version, but like the real places they shot the film on, like it's in it. You can see them in England on a tour. So
it is very cool.
In case you didn't know, and you're like, Orlando's the only place. No, you can. I mean, England is further for some of us to travel to, but just saying, the real thing does exist. So I thought that, all right, we're talking about Harry Potter. It's getting brought up.
It is very cool.
On the topic, which is your favorite book of the series? We're rapid firing.
I don't know.
Oh, you don't have a favorite book? They're all the same.
They're all very good in various reasons, and it's been a long time since I've read them. So
favorite movie of the 8? I have a favorite movie.
Probably the same as yours.
Say it. 1, 2, 3. Prisoners of Azkaban. All right, we can move on. 2 guesses instead of 1 for the triangle. We already talked about that. I'm going through my notes. That must have been chronological. We jumped ahead. Jenny is the triangle expert, and I said she should be good at puzzles. Turns out at the end of the episode, she wasn't like the best, but they didn't lose.
Good. Yeah.
That's what's important. Marianne then explains how the triangles work, and I wrote, my brain is melting. And I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I was just trying to think of like listen to her talk about this. I'm like, I can't keep up.
Yeah, it is very difficult. Like, I understood what she was saying, how you could lose count very easily.
I got that part.
Yeah. So they were using the chalkboard as kind of like trying to mark out how many they had counted so far in one place. So it worked for them.
She was getting like really like, I can imagine this is how I sound if I talk Survivor to someone who doesn't understand the show, doesn't know what the show is. Like, I'm sure I could be the Marianne, but not about triangles.
Well, I mean, she was still confused.
Marianne was still confused.
Yeah, she was just saying how confusing it was.
Yeah, I understand. So it turns out the right answer was 51. Both tribes had it right, and they were like, they got to make a second guess. So One tribe did 50 and 51 as their two guesses. The other one did 51, 52. So either way, they had it even if they didn't have the second guess.
Right.
So I wonder then if in 41 if they would have gotten it right, because I'm sure the one guess is what threw them off from doing it.
Mm-hmm. If they'd given them two.
Yeah, we'll never
know.
Also, I don't really care that much about what 41 would have been. All right. Also, randomly, I think this episode is much better than the first episode of 41.
I think so.
I think a lot of decisions were made by the show in the storytelling to make this one better, because this definitely could have been just as equally as 41's beginning. So just want to throw that out there. I think a lot of decisions were made. Could be wrong, could have been, but I got the feeling, especially when like Roxroy later on is like being himself, and the show could have gone the route of 41 and made it just not fun. But instead they played military music behind him, and it was lots of fun. Yeah. Even though for everyone else it sucked, but for us it was fun. That's right. What matters. Okay. Mike says he needs to soften his image, basically saying that perception of him, he needs to change the perception of him. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, this dude's going far.
Probably.
Like this, just like what an intelligent confessional, and he doesn't look like he's out of shape. So while he is older, and he currently right now we've learned that he's closest to Jenny, who's also older. I'm like, that's smart. I don't know, when you're like and he also had a confessional at the very beginning. I know that, but this is the one that made me like notice Mike. Like, okay, he's not just some buff dude. Okay, he's not just some older guy doing their typical like, oh, back in my day.
Yeah.
You know. That's my cat. I'm holding him because he won't leave me alone. I love him. Okay. So what did you think about Mike? Sorry, I just kind of like just said all my thoughts.
I didn't have any thoughts necessarily about Mike. Not that I had.
Then who did you have thoughts about?
No,
I want to hear them. Oh.
I thought it was nice to get so many backstories. By the end, maybe it was a little bit overwhelming, but I do feel like we really get to know the cast right away, and I did like that. So I enjoyed all the backstories, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think one of the benefits that this also applies to David versus Goliath premiere is that so the episode is, of course, it's a 2-hour episode. Reality is that's more like a 2 episodes back to back, but because we had an evacuation, a forced evacuation, whatever you want to call it, this episode, it really felt like we got a 2-hour normal episode because only one person was voted out, and therefore we got a lot of time for character development. Whereas in 41 we had to go to 2 tribals and we had to have 2 camps talking about strategy, and it was just like back to back to back to back to back things. And here we actually had some time to breathe because only one person had to be voted out. So in my opinion, Survivor lucked out in that aspect. They didn't luck out in another aspect, but you know, pick your poison, I guess. And if I had to pick my poison, I'd pick this poison over the just too much in the Survivor 41 premiere.
Sure.
Also it helped that I think they shortened the beginning. I feel like the boat thing ate up a lot of time in the 41 premiere, and here we just kind of like got into it. So
yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, I think really there's some storytelling decisions that really helped. So people start singing the theme song. By the way, what a slap in my face and everyone else's face to not have this theme song, but have people singing it on the island.
Theme song?
Yeah, it's like, was that not it? Tori and them were all in the Blue Tribe like going, and Roxroy's like annoyed that they're not like working as hard as him.
Right.
Yeah.
I just didn't pick up that it was the theme song. I thought they were just like singing jungle type songs. I don't know.
I'm like 99% sure
You're probably right. You usually notice stuff like that more than I do.
You're better. I think you're better observations, but to be fair, it is right after the episode. And normally we do get the chance to rewatch it or have a day to process it.
Yeah.
So with that, I think they're singing the theme song, and I'll double check the episode afterwards. Okay, so yeah, Roxroy though is so annoyed by them slacking, and we get this military music that kicks in while he is saying how much of a slacking tribe he is. And then I love this. Sorry, what did you think about that before I tell you what I loved about it? You don't think anything?
I just thought it was funny.
You just thought it was funny? Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure because that's going on a tangent.
Go ahead.
So people have seen season 3 Africa. Remember how Gen X was the lazy, worthless generation, and it was the boomer generation that were the hard workers in season 3 Africa. Here we are in season 42, almost 40 seasons later, almost 20 years later. If not, this probably is just 20 years later because we did skip a whole year of Survivor seasons. And here we go again, but it's the opposite. It's the opposite. Now Gen X is the harder, older generation.
Well, yeah, the older generation is always.
And my point is that it's not about the generation. It's more about the age group.
Yeah.
Because the Gen X was labeled as so lazy, and this generation just doesn't know how to do a hard day's work. Is what we were like in season 3. This was happening at the Samburu tribe. Samburu. I'm gonna get butchered here.
What? You don't remember the tribe name?
No, I do remember the tribe name. I forgot how to pronounce it.
Okay.
If I recall correctly, that was the tribe name. It was the tribe T-Bird was on. That's what I know. So it was not the Ethan, Lex, and Tom tribe, aka my favorite tribe of that season. So yeah, it's really just the age group. It's really just, but Rocksroy needs to chill.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, just bad on him to be so uptight about this. And he says it's easier to work with his kids than to work with these adults. I believe it was along the lines of what he said.
Right. I mean, I get that because I work with kids sometimes too. And like with smaller children, you just expect certain things because
they're small children. Yeah.
Versus I expect more from like the high school students that I might work with at times because they're in high school. But anyway, so it's just different.
Yeah. Also, now that we're talking about Rocksroy, I want to mention that each tribe has like their designated big man. We have Jonathan on the Orange tribe. We have Mike on the Green tribe, and we have Rocksroy here on the Blue tribe, which comes up later, I believe, when Romeo is talking about who to vote out, because it's kind of like we're about to vote out our designated big man, which is what happened in season 41 when they voted Abraham on the Yas tribe, on the Yellow tribe. And they went on they're struggling for the next like few episodes with challenges as a result. And Xander had to pick up all the slack. So, all right. I wrote down ambulance have to be played together. We kind of already talked about that. Okay. So
next is really the summit is what I have next.
Oh, I have Jackson's twisted tail next. Maybe I didn't write down the summit, or have I skipped it in my notes?
No, it's probably later.
No, they haven't done the summit yet. Let's talk about Jackson's twisted tail really quick. I swear I wrote this down.
Mary's you're right. You're right.
Looks. I wrote down. I think I wrote it down chronological. Long story short, Jackson says that they applied 10 years ago as a female to Survivor, but then this time they applied as a transgender man and they got on. And that was basically their story, and it's like their uplifting tale. So then it's kind of like thrown out there
with Jackson's parents.
Yeah, we get the whole backstory with the parents and everything, and how basically as a result of his mom getting sick, that him and his dad got closer.
Right.
Long story short. So that's what we learned with Jackson, but we'll come back to Jackson later, because I definitely thought what happened later was like connected to this. I don't know. We'll talk about it in a second. Okay, so they wake up on day 2, because that was night 1. It's day 2. Lydia says day 2, and I am nowhere near crying. Thank the Lord. And I was like, it caught me off guard, so I laughed, but like I wasn't ready to laugh, so it was a delayed laugh.
Right.
Like she got through the whole joke, and we were already, I think, 10 seconds into whatever the next thing was, and then I laughed. Like it hit me that. I was like,
man.
I don't. It's like almost like I thought about what she said. I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny. I give her credit, is what I'm trying to say. It's day 2 and I'm nowhere near crying. Thank the Lord. But it's like the way she said it worked. Yeah. So when we learned Daniel's backstory, he had leukemia as a teen. Wild, because those pictures of him, I was like, I almost didn't recognize him.
He wasn't even.
He says 15, didn't he?
He's been cancer free since 15.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, I was gonna say, because with that leukemia, he didn't look like anything like he does now. Of course, he has a lot of hair now,
right?
Which changes. Of course, being sick also has a lot less weight. So I know we just saw that with a close family member of ours who just went through cancer and survived it, and she lost all her hair, and like still the same person, but like less weight and no hair makes you look different.
Yeah, you definitely look different.
Definitely, it's just like almost not unrecognizable for her, but for him it was like. But to be fair, he was younger. So, anyways, I just want to say that was like. Because they asked about the scar in him.
Right.
Like, where'd the scar come from? Leukemia. So, Zach and Romeo talk to each other. Zach says, it's like waiting to be kissed.
That was so funny.
And also, they're ripped.
Yes.
And I'm like, why did he get voted out first? What a shame. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like Reem getting voted off first in Edge of Extinction, because she was perfect the rest of the season, thankfully, due to the Edge. But Zach here, man, what a good character getting shafted in the first episode. Because I thought he was like, what a great first. I mean, what a great, like, he had one episode, but he was great for the one episode.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
You can disagree.
No, he was fine. I feel like there are a lot of good characters.
Yeah.
I feel like he kind of was too much. I don't know. He was so.
I think they gave him extra because he was going.
Probably.
Personally, because he's the only boot of this 2-hour episode. So, we then see Tori. Oh, I just wrote down Tori's overplaying and she knows it. This is when she's like,
Searching
I know I
for her
shouldn't be
idol.
by myself.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it anyways, and
Right.
it's like.
And then I'm going to get mad when people are talking.
Yeah.
But I feel like she did handle it correctly by just laying it out there and not letting it fester or whatever. Just talking to the whole group and then pulling aside the person.
She's like over talking and overthinking and over everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember a lot of people, so for some reason I was under the impression she won this game called Sequester, which is, best for those who are unaware of what the heck I'm talking about. I would say it's similar to Big Brother, which is like Survivor in a house, but just not nearly as good at all. not at all.
Well, I think people know what Big Brother is.
So anyways, long story short, she played like a cheaper version of Big Brother. And I thought she had won, by the way, two people were talking about her, but no, she got like 6th place is when I briefly looked up. So I don't know. I was expecting more hearing this about her. And I have a song actually that I wrote during the episode for Tori. And just as about her gameplay, not as her as a person. I want to be clear on that. You ready?
Sure.
All right. Dum da dum dum. Dum da dum 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 dum. I was just like thinking about a story video. I'm just like thinking I put dum da dum dum.
Wow.
For those who watch my story videos, they know the whole first episode of Tori's like dum 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 dum. That's why I would be like doing a song of dums. That's
which is sad because she's
what a great title I just came up with.
She's clearly smart. It's just she's overdoing it.
If anyone, I'm throwing this out there now, if anyone ever plays Survivor and I make a story video for them and they have like their ratio is like 3 smart moves to like 30 dumb moves, their story video will be called Song of Dumbs. I don't know why. I just think it would work.
Well, we'll see if you have.
This is how my mind works on the fly.
Yeah.
This is not, I mean, the song was prepared, but not that. So here we go. All right. Don't pat myself in the back too much. All right. Okay. So we go to the Summit Island. 1 for 1, exactly the same from last time.
Yes.
Like to the T.
Although each person who went was slightly different. And I did enjoy seeing that.
Because they're all females instead of males?
No, the way they chose or got chosen.
Yeah.
So Marianne was like super
Really
excited about it and wanted to go, but also knew it could really hurt her game. So she was like, I'll go if you want, but I don't know if you, and they're
but
like,
I don't want to Tori the situation and blow it.
Right. So sure, just go. And then Jenny drew a straw, and so she was not excited about it. And then Dre, they did rock, paper, scissors, and she won. And she was excited.
Drea beat Roxroy on the rock, paper, scissors.
With rock, paper, scissors. So I thought that was
Roxroy
interesting.
played a rock. No, he played paper.
He played paper and she played scissors.
Roxroy, you gotta know better, man. It's your name.
Oh my goodness.
You play rock, paper, scissors, you have to play that rock. I don't know why.
Well, we didn't see the whole tournament, so he might have played a bunch of rocks.
Maybe he played, he just beat
and now
everyone.
he's like, I'm going to trick her.
Roxroy has one strategy in paper, rock, scissors. It's rock all the way until the end, then you throw out the paper real quick. You just rock your way to the end. We will. Roxroy you. Okay, I'm on a song
full
tear.
of songs tonight.
I'm just full of music. That's the sound of music. All right, so basically we have all females. Last time we had all males go to the island, so it's different in that regard.
Yeah,
interesting how we didn't get mixed in either season. I feel like the odds of this were low. I did write down that. Okay, so I'm sorry, my notes were like all jacked up. So Marianne, Jenny, and Drea go to Summit Island. Last time it was all males. So we learned from Marianne that her family is from Kenya, and her mom had no idea why she wanted to be on Survivor. She's like, why would you want to torture yourself?
Right.
We moved away from a country where people are struggling, and you want to go to a place to struggle? I think is probably what her mom's thinking. I remember I went to Peru and I tried to explain to somebody like the concept of the game of Survivor, and they're like, why would you do that?
Right.
And I'm like, because it's fun.
Yeah.
But they're like, sorry, they're not in a very good place. They're just like where they're living is not nice. Let's put it that way. So they're a friend, but they could not explain to them why Survivor's fun. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a cultural thing, I guess. So, all right. I want to point out that Marianne has her confessional at the same exact time JD did in 41. And here's what I find interesting. If you want to do a contrast and compare, JD, personal assessment, what I think. JD was a guy who, he might still be doing this, but at the time in the show was like going through a phase of life where he's learning who he is. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know who he is. That's why he wants to be Malcolm. He wants to be Woo. He wants to be these people he likes, but he doesn't know how to be JD yet.
Right.
Marianne knows who she is, and that was her whole confessional point. It's almost like we have JD, but like fixed. I don't know how else to say that. Like JD didn't know who he was yet, and still didn't know who he was by the end of the season. By the time he's voted out, Marianne doing the confessional in the same exact spot. It almost has like a similar like point, except she knows who she is. She says, "I know who I am. I'm weird. I accept it." You know, she's not trying to be someone else. She's being Marianne.
Right.
And I'm like, what an interesting contrast if you compare it to 41 and JD doing the same exact confessional at the same exact place about who he's like, I used to be a dork, but now I like got out. Now I'm cool, but like he's not really cool. He just wants to be cool. But Marianne's like, no, I'm weird and I'm Marianne.
Right.
And I was like, wow, like this is like, it's like it all comes full circle at the same exact location.
Interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll get more like more things like that in the rest of the season. That could just been, but they chose to put her confessional there. That was on purpose. They could have put it anywhere. They could have put her backstory anywhere. They put it there on purpose.
Right.
So, as I said, the storytelling this season is a step up.
So far in the one
so
episode.
far in what we've seen. Yes. Drea and Marianne get the extra vote. Jenny doesn't. I don't want to waste time talking about this stupid island. Unless you want to say something.
No.
Okay, I'm good. All right. Jackson. Oh, here we go. Here's the move. So Jeff shows up to the beach. And I'm like, what, do we miss someone getting like bitten by a shark? I'm like, what did we miss? Everyone's just like sitting in the shelter and chilling.
I genuinely thought someone's family member had died.
Yeah, that was a really good guess because that's happened before. I was like, that has to be what it is because no one's injured. And why else does Jeff only show up to one camp? Like if he's showing up for a twist or something, you wouldn't. If he
would have talked to the camera about it first.
Yeah, or so he would have been like, hey guys, I'm about to walk up to the Orange Tribe Beach. And what they don't know is I'm going to give them an option to pick a rock. And if they pick the wrong one, they're all going to Island of the Idols, which is a twist we just threw out for just this episode where Boston Rob's in a glass box and he's going to teach them how to make fire so that he doesn't have to quarantine, but he can still be on the show. And he'll be like, hey, so if you can beat me in fire, I'll give you an immunity idol. Yeah, he goes up Jackson and it's like, Jeff tries to keep it vague, but also there's a cameraman watching them. Maybe just in case Jackson decided to admit to whatever it was. Because they kind of kept it vague. And I wonder if Jackson had admitted to nothing if we would even have saw this conversation. Like, I'm saying if Jackson didn't want to get in any details. Like, otherwise this conversation makes no sense without details.
Yeah, it doesn't, I don't understand.
Jeff was being vague. That was the issue. So I was confused.
Which I understand because he has to be vague because it's like
because
medical
Jackson doesn't want to say it on television.
Records, yeah.
So I wonder if Jackson said nothing. There's like, we're pulling Jackson because of a medical issue we cannot disclose. Like, okay.
Yeah.
What? And then everyone would have cried foul.
Right.
You know? Basically, I had to look this up. So I'm not a medical expert. He's pulled for using lithium, which I don't believe is an illegal drug. But as I said, I am not an expert. Do not quote me. It's not illegal. But apparently it's an issue. It's kind of like having sleep apnea. You can't be on Survivor and have sleep apnea.
Well, he stopped using it right before the show, but it's still in his system.
Thought he could wean himself off before getting on the show.
Right.
But the real issue, and I think this is what we need to discuss. Basically what that is lithium is, this is my very brief looking that I had time for. It's used for depression and bipolar disorder. So basically, Jackson lied and didn't tell them about this because they did not wait until the day before they went on the island to ask about, are you taking any medication?
Right.
First thing you go and see a doctor, like first thing is like, are you on any medication? Are you on any medication at all? It's like one of the first questions any doctor will ask you when you go see them. Mm-hmm. For almost anything. No was said, or not lithium, basically. If they said any medication, it wasn't lithium.
Right.
Lied. had to have lied for a minimum of 2 weeks of quarantine. Minimum. Because what if he was called the day before the day before quarantine, to go on the show? Minimum of 2 weeks. Got on the show, probably. But so I got 2 questions. Number one, what do you think about this?
Well, it's frustrating, I think. Just because so many people do apply and want to get on and play and don't get a chance. And so to have someone get on and make it that far and then get pulled out because it's dangerous to themselves.
It's like day 3 at this point, by the way.
Right.
It's not like day 1.
Right.
How do I say this nicely? What a jerk to steal someone's spot. Like straight up lied to the show. Lied. You had to lie. There's no way around it. You lied to get on the show. You stole someone else's spot. Namely, there are alternates who are there in case someone pops for COVID. Mm-hmm. So there are alternates who are there who were sent home with the idea of, okay, well, our 18 players didn't pop for COVID, so we don't need any alternates. Sorry, go home. Maybe next time. But also you have the question of why did Survivor finding this out? Because he didn't tell them when he got on the island. Told them.
Yeah, Jeff was like, we found out the day before shooting, and so we just thought we'd see how things went. Yeah.
So then it makes me wonder, did like CBS's legal team come back and say, hey, actually, we need a poll?
And I wonder if that's why they threw that line in there of, I forget who said it, but somebody said to Jackson, hey, make sure you're drinking water. Hey, you got dizzy or something.
Yeah, they threw that in there.
I know. Yeah. To say, oh, maybe the medicine was affecting him. And, I don't know. But yeah, it's like you found out the day before shooting and didn't pull him then and then let him compete in a challenge.
This is on both parties.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not one side. It's not like Jackson on day 2 revealed to everyone Jackson just got done doing lithium.
Right.
No.
And that's the thing too, that we talked about, like, so he applied, Jeff calls him, says, we like you, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then if he was honest at that point, said, listen, I'm trying to wean myself from lithium.
I'm currently weaning myself off, but I'm not off yet.
Right. They probably would have let him go on to season 43, I imagine, or something, if they liked him that much.
Thank you for being honest. We really like you. We really like your story.
Right.
Clearly, they liked his story. They included it. If they didn't like Jackson, they would not have included that story.
Right. But we want to make sure you're safe and healthy before we do that.
I remember back on Tina Shear, who was on season 12, was supposed to be on season 11, but because her son had just died, I think like a month before she went on season 11, or a month before she was going to go on season 11, they're like, well, if you... grieve, we'll put you on season 12. Like, you don't have to be on season 11, we'll put you on season 12. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I know this is not the same, but if you really like somebody, you'll find a spot for them the next season. So maybe Jackson didn't want to risk it, but at the same time, you lied.
Yeah.
You lied and definitely you screwed someone else over.
Should have disclosed that.
I'm not saying just because you lied, you are now a horrible person or anything. I remember, Mike Borowski, I forgot how you say his last name. Mike, who was on season 19 Samoa, they did the same thing in season 18 Tocantins, who's supposed to be on the Tocantins. And a day before, they found out about sleep apnea and they pulled him from Tocantins. Mm-hmm. And he had to be cleared of sleep apnea. So he got surgery to fix whatever they needed to fix. Yeah. And then he was able to go on season 19 Samoa. So they saved him a spot.
Right.
But I don't think he hid it from them. I think it was more like they had to find out if this was going to be an issue.
Right.
From my understanding of that. So he was supposed to be on season 18, was put on season 19 instead because he was honest.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. So, okay. And season 19 and 20 were shot back to back. 18 was a year before. So, all right. Moving on. I wrote good for time in the episode with one less tribal. Oh, I put, because Jackson being kicked. Good for time in the episode, one less tribal. All right. So I like the tribal idol that they introduced
I do too. That was really cool.
Yeah, the snake eating its own tail. Mm-hmm. It's like kind of...
on like a rock.
Yeah. Very symbolic because I feel like that's what Tori's doing so far. I feel like Tori is trying to be a snake, but she's kind of eating her own tail as a result.
Yeah, they made the idol with Tori in mind.
No. Sure. I feel like players do this all the time. I think Tori's the current representation of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, players eat their own tails all the time trying to be the snake. I was like, wow. It hit me right in the feels.
Well, I'm glad.
If you made a list of your favorite tribal idols, would this make it? Or would this just be an honorable mention? Or would it not make it? Top of your head. You don't gotta be
top of my head, it probably would make it.
Top 10.
Or at least an honorable mention, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's
so unique.
This is definitely like one of the more unique ones in terms of recent seasons, because I feel like recently we'd really fall into a hole of, all right, well, here's our standard tiki statue. That's it. All right, let's move on. And it's kind of like, okay, here we actually put some thought and design into this. Question. So because Jackson's out, Blue and Green both get to sit somebody out. Why didn't Daniel sit out?
Because of his arm.
Yeah.
I feel like he probably thought it was good, and
he's holding it on that boat too.
Yeah, he was holding it, but it could have just been because he's really trying to save it, or not strain it, because it never once said, "Oh, my shoulder hurt again," or anything. I felt like it was more of just him trying to be really super careful with it. Which again, why didn't he just sit out then? Or he could have just twinged it. They weren't really clear.
It has been 2 days since he popped it.
Right.
Or since he popped it, they popped back in. So he could have felt like he was good. He'd been doing good for 2 days, and then got out there and realized, oh no, it's not recovered yet.
Right.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Because he was definitely, even when they were doing the puzzle at the end, he was still holding it. It was a very physical challenge.
It was a very physical
challenge. I know. So Romeo sat out for his tribe, and Lydia sat out for hers. Would Lydia have been better than Daniel? Because I believe they're both in the same tribe.
Yeah, I think they were trying to go for strength here. Yeah. So.
I mean, Lydia, I feel like, but a healthy Lydia, is she better than an injured Daniel? I would love to hear what you guys think on that one too.
I don't know.
I would personally put in the healthy person over Daniel, because I feel like, I mean, unless Daniel was the one who did, it really looked like Jenny was doing the puzzle anyways. It wasn't like Daniel's the only puzzle person.
Right.
They had Jenny. So anyways, all right. So Ica ends up losing immunity. Orange Tribe kind of had to come from behind. Not as like a huge come from behind, but a little bit of come from behind, because he came from like, they ended up getting first.
They were in the lead in the boat, and then they got behind it when they were pushing.
Jonathan, by the way, like what a beast.
Tore it up.
Like, my opinion, like, I know it wasn't like he didn't like doing major things that like really stood out, but like he's like shoving that boat through the ocean. He's pulling them into you don't vote this guy out till the merge. That's what I'm saying. You wait till you get to the merge, vote him out. He is going to be an asset to your tribe, like in challenges. Like, I'm not saying carry the challenge, but physical part, you got it in hand with that dude.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't know why I wrote this here. Maybe I just noticed it. So Ica loses immunity. They got to go to tribal council. I noticed that Zach on the screen said he was a student, right?
Yeah.
You ready for this? Swati says she's an Ivy League student. How do I say this? What a slap in the face is Zach. Like, you're just a student. We're not even going to clarify like anything else. You're just a student. Swati though, Ivy League. We like her.
Right. Well, she's going to Harvard, so.
What we're saying is Swati's better than Zach. And I guess with the way the episode ends, it's true, game-wise.
Yeah, people think Ivy League schools are better.
Means you're inherently a smarter person.
Supposedly.
I don't know. I just thought it was a funny aside. I wrote again, this is like the third time I think I wrote this down in my notes. Tori's being portrayed as a terrible player by the show. I know she doesn't get voted out here, but she is like, and she may be doing good things out there because she doesn't get voted out.
Right.
So she has that going for her, but the show is portraying her to be so bad.
Right.
So either we're going to get like a Tori so bad she redeems herself. Kind of like Tiffany. If I remember, Tiffany in 41 started off really bad.
Yeah, maybe Tori wins it.
Are you are you being funny with me? All right. You know what? We don't bring up those things, okay?
We don't talk about
Tiffany. No. Yeah, we are really on really full of songs tonight. Now, for those who don't know, I predicted Tiffany was going to win last season, and that didn't happen. So anyways, we're moving on. We will never bring that up again.
Never.
All right. Yeah, but she's just like, the show is portraying her to be so bad. So either she's going to have like a redemption arc, or really they're just going to keep dumping on her until she gets voted out. And I think the way current Survivor is, she's going to get a redemption arc.
I can see that.
Even if she doesn't win, I think she still gets a redemption arc. And by the way, we haven't really hinted at the winners thing, but we'll get to the winners thing. It's in the chapters. Go ahead, Mary.
No, I was just going to say, I think if she's able to chill out just a little bit, she's got it. Because she does seem, like we said, she's smart, and she seems to know what to say to people at times. Like, she seems like she could be socially good. So we'll see.
Drea says to get out Roxroy. Now, I didn't mention this, but earlier in the episode, Roxroy, Drea, and Romeo all made an alliance. So Drea's already wanting to turn her alliance Also, Drea was on really pushing at the paddles to do the mud and blood.
She did not want to do it.
Drea wanted to do
Oh,
mud
yeah,
and blood.
she did. Sorry.
Drea wanted to do it. Along with, again, Rockshroy turning on her alliance. I would say at this point, if I know it's so hard, though, because if you're Romeo hearing this from Drea, you are unaware of the mud and blood. All you know is this. So if I had to, but personally, if I knew about both, if I had two events, I'd be like, I can't trust this woman.
Right.
She is going to turn on me. Just the one is kind of like, okay, I can understand. Rockshroy's been kind of like, he's been kind of like bossing us around stuff. So I can see why. But also, he is our alliance. And we haven't gone to a tribal yet.
And he's still probably a good asset in challenges. He's probably a good asset in
challenges, yeah. Dre was trying to pitch that he was doing bad in the challenge, but I mean, are we really saying Rockshroy's worse than 118-pound Zach?
Right.
kind of what the pitch ended up becoming. So I agree with the decision to keep Rockshroy for challenges, but I would say if it's episode 5 and it was this decision, I would have got out Rockshroy. Though then again, Rockshroy might annoy the living. No, but then he becomes dragged to the end as a goat if it continued. So you don't want if somebody else is a goat, that means you can't. Nobody else wants to take you. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. So, all right. Swati wants to go Zach, and that ends up being the real plan all along.
Yep.
Because I thought it went Rockshroy, Tori, Zach, but it really ended up being Zach, and it became a clear runaway for Zach because he plays the shot in the dark, and they show it. It's not like Sydney in 41 where they just. Remember that? They just kind of bamboozled us. Mary says she doesn't remember. She's shaking her head at me.
No, sorry, I don't remember.
That's okay. Sydney, when Sydney played her shot in the dark, we didn't see her actually drop the die.
Oh, that's right.
She just was like, oh, by the way, Jeff, because they wanted to blindside us as an audience. I played the shot in the dark, but here was and hers ended up being some sort of massive split vote. Here, Zach was just unanimously voted out, and smart on him to play it because 41, there was multiple times where why didn't they play it? They knew they were going to be voted out. Right. it's 2, I believe.
Even if there's a chance.
It was at least 2 times in the pre-merge. We were like, why didn't... I was really hoping the shot in the dark would be improved to 1 in 4 odds this season instead of 1 in 6.
Yeah, but that's almost too much. That's not a shot in the dark anymore. That's a shot in a slightly flashlight area.
Yeah. I was just... Okay, 1 in 5 then. Would 1 in 5 still be a shot in the dark?
Yeah, I would accept 1 in 5.
I felt so I'm glad Zach played it because I felt after last season, I was like, well, only one person played it and they actually kind of screwed themselves when they played it. Mm-hmm. And I feel we really want people to play it more. It's kind of the idea of Survivor. Survivor wants people to take risks even if they fail. They don't necessarily want people to succeed. They just want the risks to be taken.
Right.
So if you want the risks to be taken, improve the odds by just a smidge. So shot in the dark, I am okay with us continuing with it in future seasons. Personally, I don't think it's distracting as long as we're not sitting around talking about it for an hour.
Right.
Should I play my shot in the dark? Should I not play? No, just play it or don't. Move on with life. That's what Zach did.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Swati said she would lose a finger to not be a tribal council right now.
Yeah.
Swati wasn't even on the block to be voted out,
right.
as it turned out, and she was willing to lose a finger so Zach couldn't go home, is what we're really getting to here, because that's what would have happened.
It was a little dramatic.
It was very dramatic. Because Jeff's you're willing to lose 2 digits to not go to the first 2 tribal? She's like, after day 7, I'd be good. I'm like, what? I would do anything not to go to whatever tribal I'm going to be voted out if it's I don't know. Would I lose a digit to win the $1 million? That's the question. I don't know if I would still... I would need to be an old person.
You would need to be an old person?
Yeah. I think at my current age, I'm too young to lose that digit, If I was 80, I don't know, I'd be playing Survivor 80. But let's say I'm 80, okay? And it's Final 4. And would I lose a digit at 80 years old to not make fire and go to Final 3 and win? At 80, maybe.
Oh my gosh. This is a terrible scenario. Why do you need $1 million at 80 anyways?
Well, it's kind of like the song by... I'm about to butcher his name. It's the song Ironic by, her name. Alanis, I want to say. Oh, I'm about to.
Alanis Morissette?
There you go. And she's like, isn't it ironic? And then she talks about how the one person wins the lottery and then dies the next day.
Wow.
Well, at least you won the lottery.
I have no words.
You have no words. Okay. It was a little late. I am a little loopy. All right. Zach's voted out 5-0. That's the end of the episode. Well, we had next time on Survivor, of course.
Yeah, it didn't really tell you anything.
No, but it was kind of funny. Marianne's like going crazy with the machete, and they like really edited it to be funny.
Oh yeah, you would totally do that.
Yes.
Yes.
I wouldn't be as. I think Marianne just like has this natural, like lovable energy. And I feel like my energy is if I'm around. I know it's like so typical. It's like when you're around people you're like comfortable with. I guess by day 4 or 5 you're probably comfortable with them.
Yeah.
But it's like first day I probably wouldn't be going. But like day 3, day 4, and I'm comfortable with everyone. Sure, I'd start going with the machete. So, anyways, sorry, not near anyone, just with the machete. All right. Anyways, let's move on. That's all I got for that part. Or do you have anything before we move on to winner analysis?
I do not.
Okay, well, let's move on to winner analysis. As a reminder, we are going to pick 3 people that we think has a shot to win. It's only the first episode. What do we really know at this point, you know?
Right.
So, Mary, I don't think, do you even know who your 3 people are? I guess I should have prepared you for this.
I have a couple people that I would be interested
3, but if you have
in
3,
seeing.
that'd be great.
No, I mean, I have 3.
Okay. Who are your people?
Well, number 1 is Jonathan. I don't think he's going to win because he's going to be a huge threat after the merge. But we haven't seen much of him yet either. I don't know. I just want to see him progress further in the game. I think he seems like a sweet giant kind of person. My second person that I want to see go far, again, I'm not sure if they'll win, is Marianne, just because she's really entertaining to watch and she's really fun. I'm not sure, like I haven't really seen her make alliances yet or anything like that, but people do seem to enjoy her and having her around. So that could be interesting. Mm-hmm. And then my other person is actually Swati.
Yeah.
Which sounds weird, but
she's not in the age range, but she's not bad.
Only because she made a Sandra quote, which was, as long as it's not me, I'm fine with whoever. Basically,
to be fair, a lot of people have said that.
I'm sure a lot of people have said that.
Did originally with Sandra.
And also the person she wanted out got out. Because
true.
Unless I'm wrong, I could be wrong because we just watched it. No one had really said Zach until she brought it up. But
she was the first one that we saw on the show to say, let's go Zach.
That was just my very brief
so she had some
first
sway.
time seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyone else before I could throw out my 3?
No.
Okay. Get ready for it. By the way, remember that the winner analysis section is just for fun.
Right.
If I actually knew who won the show, that would be terrible.
And I think the 3 that I just said were different than the 3 I said in the previous. So.
Oh yeah. No, my winner pick like preseason was high. I've moved away from that. Okay. Are you ready for the insanity to drop? Mm-hmm. So I have logic behind this and I'm presenting as insane in case I'm wrong. But if I'm right, then I take back everything I say about it being insane. Okay. And I say, what a genius I was the whole time. All right. Here we go. Lindsay, Jonathan, Marianne. That's my final 3. And I do mean the final 3 of the show. I don't mean my 3. I mean the final 3 at Final Tribal Council. Mm-hmm. I know, bold after 1 episode. So I watched so they upload the first 4 minutes of this episode to the YouTube.
To the YouTube.
Yeah, to the YouTube. Have you ever heard of the YouTube? It's a classy place. So they uploaded to it a couple days ago. And what I did was, since we're almost 1-for-1ing, and by that I mean we're almost dittoing, copying 41 in a lot of ways, I was like, well, maybe, because I went back and studied what 41 did to hint Erica, since we know it's Erica, what they did to hint Erica. And I'm like, maybe they'll do similar techniques in 42 since we're just going to copy a bunch of things anyways, right?
Right.
So here's the things I caught. At the end of the 41 intro package, so I've had 2 days to think about this. At the end of the 41 intro package, they literally have Deshaun, Xander, and Erica. And I have a video coming out Monday about how to spot the winner and the hints they've used for the past like 8 seasons.
Right.
So I've really looked into this. That's what I'm trying to say since last time. The Deshaun, Xander, and Erica, not in that specific order, were the last 3 to like have their faces shown and they all got a confessional. It wasn't the same editing this time. There wasn't like 3 final people to get a confessional in the same way they did in 41. So I'm saying it's not like they did the same exact edit, but the same editing style was definitely in effect here. Mm-hmm. And after Mike gets his confessional, we then see a torch snuffed. Then we see, and if I recall correctly, Lindsay Jonathan, and Marianne in that order. I don't necessarily think that's the order of first, second, third, or anything like that. I'm just saying that to me is like, I don't know, just like the first time I saw that, even thinking about it, caught my eye, and I was like, huh, is that similar to 41? I went back and watched 41, watched this. Long story short, okay, I'm like, well, this feels like something, because 39, they said like, who's gonna be the sole survivor, and then they like, Tommy, it's like, showed Tommy, like zoom in on Tommy like 3 times,
right,
on him swimming in the ocean. And then in 40, Tony's like the only one with the true winner's quote that season. And then 41, Erica, all her hints, which she did have hints in the premiere. That's all of my reasons. Has nothing to do with anything anyone said in the episode or what they've done, except none of them got voted out or were pulled from the game, which is all bonuses.
Right.
So those are my 3 until someone gets eliminated and I have to rethink my entire life.
Which I'm sure will happen. I'm not sure. You're very smart and you like to analyze these things.
No,
so
in between 41 and 42, I tried to, when I locked in Tiffany, I'm like, she was the decoy winner, as it turned out. She had a really solid edit. We don't talk about Tiffany. I know, no. But there was a reason why I was locked in her. I'm like, she fits everything they had done between 34, I think it was like 35 and 40. She was doing all the same things the winners of 35 through 40 were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying, what I am saying is that I have nothing else to go on because I don't feel like anyone else's episode had like a true, like, hey, by the way, I might be the winner.
Right.
So nothing else like really stood out. The Survivor production knows this.
Well, yeah.
They'll never again have another person like Richard Hatch just say, write me the $1 million check right now. I've won the game in the first episode. Yeah. So anyways, okay. That's our winner analysis. Let's move on to questions people have for us. Are you ready for these bad boys?
I'm ready.
Okay. Let's see if I pull them up here correctly. Okay. First question is from John. He says, I'm still a little confused on the Jackson situation, why production wasted a spot on him like that. Can you explain it a little bit more in your thoughts? Now, we did talk about this earlier, but I think we could both sum it up as Jackson told them at like the last second about this thing. Jackson lied to them for weeks and then told them the truth the day before. Production should have put an alternate in to be safe. Personal
Unless
opinion.
for some reason he literally waited until the alternates were like flying away and, oh, by the way, I don't know. I don't know.
That would be terrible. Okay. Next question is from Hayden Faith. Who do you think came out of the gate too strong and revealed too much too early, besides Zach?
Well, I think we could say it in 3, 2, 1.
Tori. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I would say Daniel when he made the Stephanie LaGrossa reference, but to be fair,
yeah,
I feel like most people here are fans of the show. You're not going to get targeted because you're like the only super fan here.
Right.
And it's not like some obscure reference he made. Like, that's the only other person that's like, we all know popped their shoulder out on Survivor. Like in the first episode too of a very popular season. It wasn't like Thailand, which people try not to rewatch if they can. It was on Heroes vs. Villains. Everyone's seen that season. I feel like if you're a fan of the show. So anyways. Next question is from Cameron Kaplan. Are there going to be more, less, or the same amount of advantages compared to season 41? I want to say more because we already added one.
We already added one.
We added one. This was an extra advantage. And yet it still felt like we had enough time to learn to get to know people, which was nice.
Yeah, well, it's nice.
So, Cameron, I don't think they said they're dropping any twists. I think we're even getting the hourglass again, hopefully tweaked to be improved by a lot. But I want to say we're getting more is my answer. So, okay, next question is from Bess Jones. Do you think this season, if you had to guess, will be better than 41?
You already liked the first episode better.
It's true. In the breakdown, I did talk about how I think this felt better in multiple ways. It felt like some production decisions were made in the storytelling, but also the fact that Jackson got pulled meant we had one less tribal to waste time on and one less camp to go to hear a bunch of strategy talks at. So we had more time to flesh out people and relationships and everything else. And I think it made for a better episode as a result. Heroes vs. Villains is the only time in the past we've had a 2-hour premiere with one tribal. And I could be wrong, but that's the only one I can think of because it stood out when it happened. Usually we get like 90 minutes or we get like 60 minutes. We don't usually get 2 hours with one tribal. This is like a second time it's ever happened as far as I'm aware. So it's nice. I wish this was every season, frankly. One tribal, 2 hours for the first one. Okay. Aaron Barker asks, I don't know if it's just me, but Jonathan seems like a villain. Is it the bod?
Villain?
Is it the hair?
Is it the hair?
Is it the voice?
I don't know.
I don't catch villain vibes from him, but
no.
It's too early. They haven't even gone to a tribal yet.
I mean, we only had like one confessional from him, right? So
really, kind of. If we didn't have one confessional, it felt like we only had one. It was the one at the very beginning where he says there's only one survivor. You know
what? That's why I wrote him down as my winner, because of that. But anyways.
Oh, you think that's a winner quote? It's kind of a winner quote. He didn't say he was going to be the one survivor, but saying that there are a million world records and there's only one survivor. Yeah, you're right. That could be a winner quote for sure. And that's all the questions, I think, for right now. Somebody, Survivor X said, woo, Survivor podcasts again. I agree. It's not a question. They're just celebrating the fact that they're not saying woo the player. They're saying
thinking woo the player.
They're like
Survivor
woo
podcast.
Survivor. No. They're saying woo as in like a celebration, celebratory tone.
You got to read it with more inflection.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for listening, everyone. We'll have another podcast for you next week and, of course, every week. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.